hello, 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 whiskey, whee!
Hello again, and welcome to the 2-week update to see how the compostable wrapper from Oxford University is getting on in the worm bin. In the last 2 weeks, we've had very warm weather, so the plastic has been sweating quite a bit, and you can see the results of that there. There's a lot of worm activity on the walls of the worm bin, and on the roof you can see a lot of worm casts there. It probably means we've had some escapees, because obviously the worm tower is not airtight, but it doesn't look too bad. Now, what I realized as soon as I set this up, that I could have done something better, which was actually move the worms and the wrapper into a container where there was no other food. When I added the wrapper, there was quite a lot of food in this tray, so I put some watermelon in, because we all know worms are amoral and they have absolutely no compunction when it comes to melons and watermelons. So I thought I'll put some over the area where the wrapper was to encourage them to try and stay in that area. So we'll see if having that many worms working on that spot has had any effect on the wrapper itself. The tray looks reasonably good. There's quite a lot of worms in it. There's a lot of toing and froing from the tray underneath, so I suspect there's still quite a bit of unfinished compost in that tray. But here is the wrapper. Now, one of the things I wanted to see was if the worms would avoid the area completely, because it's somebody suggested, I think it's probably made of some sort of cornstarch or something like that, but it's got a bit of a weird smell to it. Not plastic. If you ever used latex gloves, it smelled a bit like that, although it's obviously not latex. But the worms haven't avoided it. And in fact, it looks like they made their way into the gap where the tear was, into the little piece of melon that I put on the inside of the wrapper. So that's good to see. At least it hasn't caused any kind of a toxic problem for the worms in the tray, because they would have left that completely alone. The tray is big enough for them to move away from it if they didn't like it. So they have been working. They have got into the wrapper, and they have been working on the piece of melon inside. I'm always fascinated by this, how they leave the very outer edge of the watermelon, that's not a watermelon, a melon. So after they've consumed the entire slice of melon, all you'll find in the worm bin is the very outer edge of the skin. Now let's have a look at the wrapper. It feels no different, actually, with the exception of being moist. It doesn't feel like it's broken down at all. It's completely identifiable as the original wrapper that I put in. There's no breaks in it other than that original tear, which I put in when I was taking the post out. And you can see it's still very strong. It's not giving way even with gentle tugging. The worms are inside and outside of the wrapper, so they're not bothered by it. Whatever the wrapper is made of, it's not causing the worms any issue whatsoever. But a bit like we suspected at the very beginning when I set this up, this wrapper probably needs some sort of a hot composting. Ooh, I've just invented a worm trampoline. Let's do that again. This might be my new invention for Christmas. Whee! They're enjoying this. Ready, 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 woo! Beep! Look at that. I've just invented a worm trampoline. Get your orders in now for Christmas. Don't be disappointed. Limited stock. Just $29.99 and free shipping. Okay, where was I? Yes, so the wrapper, no difference whatsoever. Absolutely none. 2 weeks in the worm tray, covered in worms. Worms aren't bothered by it. but it's not going to break down. Well, it will break down, but it's going to take an incredibly long time at this rate. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this big piece of watermelon in, put it back exactly where it was, come back in 2 weeks and see if that made any difference. And then I've got a slightly different plan that I'm going to do with the wrapper and the worms from week 5. So it'll be 4 weeks by the time we come back and have a look. We'll see if that has made any difference. Marty suggested it would be time, and I think he's absolutely right. It will break down in the worm bin, but it's going to take an incredibly long time because it's not a hot process. This is coming a couple of days early because Pooh's mate left a comment that she was heading on holidays on the 4th of August, and I had a word with the worms and they don't want to be responsible for Pooh's mate missing her flight. They don't have the money to compensate her for loss of holiday. So Pooh's mate, if you're watching this, have a lovely holiday, and I'll come back in 2 weeks and we'll have a look and see what it looks like then. As always, thanks for watching. Bye for now.